The number 666. This sequence of digits brings to mind images of evil, the Antichrist, or doom, thanks to the Book of Revelation. This final book of the Christian Bible is filled with vivid, often terrifying imagery: dragons, beasts, plagues, and cosmic battles. Its prophecies and symbols have been interpreted in countless ways, often fueling speculation about the end of the world. Within this complex tapestry of visions, a particular passage stands out for its direct mention of a number. The author of Revelation, John of Patmos, presents a mysterious figure, a beast rising from the sea, who wields great power and authority. John then issues a challenge to his readers, stating that the beast has a number, and this number is the number of a man. That number, as explicitly stated in most manuscripts of Revelation 13:18, is 666. This seemingly simple numerical reference has sparked endless debate and interpretation. Understanding 666 requires us to step back into the world of early Christianity. The Book of Revelation, or the Apocalypse of John, belongs to a specific genre of ancient literature known as apocalyptic. Apocalyptic texts were common in Jewish and early Christian circles, especially during times of crisis and persecution. They purported to reveal heavenly secrets about the true nature of reality, the course of history, and the ultimate triumph of God's justice over evil. These texts were not straightforward historical accounts or simple predictions of the future. Instead, apocalyptic literature is characterized by its rich use of symbolism, vivid imagery, and often cryptic language. The aim was to offer hope and encouragement to the faithful who were suffering, assuring them that God was ultimately in control and would vindicate them. The Book of Revelation fits this pattern perfectly. John of Patmos writes to 7 churches in Asia Minor, offering them a vision that interprets their present sufferings in light of God's ultimate plan. Understanding this context is crucial. The specific passage that introduces the number 666 is Revelation 13:18. This verse concludes a chapter describing 2 terrifying beasts. The first beast rises out of the sea, having 10 horns and 7 heads, with crowns on its horns and blasphemous names on its heads. It is given authority by a great red dragon and is worshipped by the inhabitants of the earth. The chapter then introduces a second beast rising out of the earth. This second beast is often interpreted as representing the local authorities or priests who promoted the imperial cult and enforced its worship throughout the Roman provinces. Revelation 13:16-18 states, "Also it causes all, both small and great, both rich and poor, both free and slave, to be marked on the right hand or the forehead, so that no one can buy or sell unless he has the mark, that is, the name of the beast or the number of its name." The call for wisdom and understanding to calculate the number strongly implies that John expected his original readers to be able to figure out this riddle. The method believed to be behind the riddle of 666 is an ancient practice called gematria. This is a Hebrew term for a system where letters in an alphabet are assigned numerical values. The Greeks had a similar system called isopsephi. In many ancient cultures, including Hebrew and Greek, the letters of their alphabets also served as their numerals. Because letters had inherent numerical values, it became possible to calculate the numerical sum of the letters in a word or a name. This sum was considered to hold a special significance or to reveal a hidden connection between words or concepts that shared the same numerical value. Gematria was used in various contexts, from scholarly interpretations of sacred texts to everyday graffiti and magical charms. Therefore, when John of Patmos in Revelation 13:18 says, "Let the one who has understanding calculate the number of the beast, for it is the number of a man," he is very likely inviting his readers to engage in this kind of gematria. The challenge was to figure out which name, and in which language, would yield the ominous total of 666. Section 5. Nero Caesar, a name feared by early Christians. Given the context of Revelation, the man whose number is 666 would most logically be a prominent figure associated with Roman power and the oppression of Christians. One emperor in particular stands out in early Christian memory as the archetypal enemy. Nero Claudius Caesar Augustus Germanicus, usually known simply as Nero. His reign from 54 to 68 CE was marked by extravagance, cruelty, and, significantly for Christians, the first major state-sponsored persecution in Rome. For Christians, this general notoriety was compounded by a specific, horrific event. In 64 CE, a great fire devastated much of the city of Rome. To deflect blame from himself, Nero accused the Christians, a relatively new and misunderstood religious group in Rome, of arson. Section 6. Calculating the infamous number Nero in Hebrew gematria. The riddle of 666 points to Emperor Nero using Hebrew gematria. John of Patmos, steeped in Jewish tradition, wrote Revelation in Greek. Transliterate Neron Kaiser into Hebrew letters. Enoron, QSR. Nun equals 50, Resh 200, Viav 6, Kof 100, Samek 60. Summing these values gives 666. This suggests Nero as the intended referent. Section 7. Rome burns, Nero's persecution and Christian scapegoats. To fully grasp why early Christians would identify Nero as the beast whose number was 666, we must delve deeper into the historical context of his reign, particularly the infamous Great Fire of Rome in July 64 CE. This catastrophic event destroyed a significant portion of the city, leaving many homeless and creating widespread panic and anger among the populace. Emperor Nero, who was at his villa in Antium when the fire broke out, returned to Rome to direct relief efforts. However, rumours quickly spread that he himself was responsible for the blaze, perhaps to clear space for his ambitious building project, the Domus Aurea, or Golden House. Whether Nero was truly responsible or not is still debated by historians. What is clear, however, is that he needed a scapegoat to deflect the public's fury. Nero targeted the Christians, a relatively small and often misunderstood religious sect in the city. According to Tacitus, to suppress the rumour, Nero falsely charged with guilt and punished with the most exquisite tortures the persons commonly called Christians, who were hated for their enormities. This event marked the first organised, state-sponsored persecution of Christians by the Roman Empire. Section 8. Whispers in Code. Why Nero's name was hidden. If the author of Revelation, John of Patmos, intended 666 to refer to Emperor Nero, why not simply say so? Why resort to a numerical code, a gematria puzzle? The answer lies in the dangerous political realities of the Roman Empire in the 1st century CE. Openly criticising the emperor, let alone labelling him a monstrous beast in league with demonic forces, was an act of treason. Such direct denunciation would have invited swift and severe retribution from Roman authorities, not just upon the author, but upon the Christian communities to whom the book was addressed. By veiling critiques of earthly powers in complex imagery and numerical riddles, apocalyptic writers could offer encouragement to the persecuted and condemn their persecutors without issuing an explicit, actionable challenge to the ruling regime. The use of gematria to encode Nero's name as 666 fits perfectly within this tradition. It allowed John to identify the ultimate human source of Rome's perceived evil, the emperor, specifically the memory and potential symbolic return of a figure like Nero, without explicitly naming him. Section 9. Nero's Shadow, the meaning of 666 for its first readers. In summary, the evidence strongly suggests that for the original audience of the Book of Revelation, the number 666 was not an abstract symbol of evil, nor a prophecy about a distant future Antichrist. Instead, it was a very specific and contemporary reference, a coded identification of Emperor Nero. Through the common ancient practice of gematria, his name and title, Neron Caesar, when transliterated into Hebrew letters, summed to the numerical value of 666. This identification resonated deeply with early Christians who remembered Nero as the first Roman emperor to orchestrate a brutal state-sponsored persecution against them following the Great Fire of Rome. By encoding his name into the number of the beast, John of Patmos was tapping into these existing fears and sentiments. The number 666 was a mark of infamy, a brand upon the memory of their most hated persecutor. For the first century Christians reading or hearing the words of Revelation, understanding 666 as Nero provided a concrete focus for the symbolic beast.